This is a math attack, and this is a math attack.
Make sure you hit that little like button down there.
Hey folks, welcome back. This is going to be lesson 2 from unit 1, and it's going to be on FOIL. So what this is about is multiplying binomials. So recall from previous lessons, when we're simplifying polynomials, the first things we need to do is first see if there's anything we need to multiply. When we've done that, then we're going to regroup it. We're going to collect the like terms, so put them next to each other, and then we're going to add and subtract the like terms. Here's some examples. So let's simplify A first. So when you're adding polynomials like this, you can drop the brackets as long as there's addition sign between them. So since there is an addition sign, we can drop these brackets and these brackets. Okay, and then we collect the like terms. So first let's drop the brackets. So I have 2x squared minus 5x plus 7. Then we've got plus 4x squared minus 5x minus 9. Okay, we got to collect our like terms. So we've got the 2x, the 4x is a like term. And I've got the 5x, and the 5x is a like term. And then lastly, I've got the constant values of plus 7 minus 9. So we're going to rewrite it so that we put them together. So I've got 2x squared plus 4x squared minus 5x minus 5x plus 7 minus 9. So if I have 2x squared plus 4x squared, that gives me 6x squared. So I have negative 5x, subtract another negative 5, that's going to give me negative 10x. And if I have positive 7 and I'm subtracting 9, it's going to give me minus 2. Okay, and that's the final answer. Because these are not like terms, we can't go any farther. Okay, so for the second one, this one's a bit more tricky because we have a negative sign in the middle. So we have to multiply that negative sign to each term in that second one, and it's going to flip the sign. So when we multiply it in, we can then drop the brackets. This first one has a positive in front of it, so we can drop the brackets right away. So I've got 4x squared minus 5x plus 2. So then we bring this negative into the 2x squared, and the 2x squared was positive. It's now going to be minus 2x squared. This negative comes over to this negative. When it's a negative and negative, it's going to change it to a positive, so plus 2x. Same thing here. We've got this negative times it by the negative 4. That's going to give us plus 4. Then we're going to collect our like terms. So I've got the 4x squared minus the 2x squared. Got the minus 5x plus the 2x. And lastly, I've got the plus 2 and the plus 4. So we rewrite it, and we put all the like terms next to each other. So 4x minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 2x plus 2 plus 4. So if I have 4 x squares and I'm minusing 2 of it, then I'm going to have 2x squared. If I have minus 5x and I'm adding 2 onto it, I'm going to have 3x. And then if I have 2 plus 4, I've got plus 6. And that is our final answer for this. Okay, so now we have the FOIL method for multiplying binomials. Okay, so when we're multiplying, we first want to do the first terms of each bracket, the outside terms, the inside terms, the last terms. This will all make sense in a second. So let's take an example. So what a binomial is 2 terms in one. So my first binomial is the x plus 2, and my second binomial is the x plus 3. It's like they are a package deal. And when we're multiplying these together, there is the FOIL method that we need to follow. So the first thing we do is we're going to multiply the first terms of each bracket. So my first term on this bracket and my first term in this bracket. So we multiply those together, and as we recall from the exponent laws, if we're doing x times x, well, remember that when x is by itself, it has an imaginary 1 as an exponent. When we're multiplying two variables that have exponents, we need to add the exponents together. So it's going to be x to the power of 2. Okay, and then the next one is the outside terms of each bracket. What it means by the outside terms is the term closest to the left and the term closest to the right. So this is the one that's closest to the left, and this is the one that's closest to the right. So we multiplied those two together. So when I multiply them together, we get plus 3x because they are not a like term, so they just sit next to each other. So we get 3x. Okay, and then the next part is the inside terms of each bracket. So the inside terms is the 2 terms that lie on the inside. Okay, so they're pretty much right next to each other. So those two get multiplied together, and we get plus 2x. And then the last one is the last terms of each bracket. So for this bracket, the 2 is my last term. And for this bracket, the 3 is my last term. So you multiply them together, so 2 times 3, and you get plus 6. Now, remember, we always need to simplify our polynomials. So when we're simplifying, we collect the like terms. So the like terms here is my 3x and my 2x, because they have the same variable with the same exponent of the imaginary 1. So we can simplify this only. So when I do 3x and I'm adding 2 more x, I'm going to have a total of 5x. So I leave my x squared the same. And then I have my 3x plus my 2x. I get 5x, and then leave the 6 as it is. So another way to FOIL is you can set up this little table. Okay, and on the top is going to be our first binomial. It's the x, and then we put the plus 2 in this side. We got to make sure we're keeping our signs because it can affect the outcome of the signs here. And then my other binomial, the x plus 3, would go here. So I have x plus 3. So when I multiply, the first thing I want to do, so I'm working at this box first. So again, remember, when we're multiplying x times x are the imaginary ones, and we have to add the exponents together. So I get x squared. Okay, and then I'm going to work down here. So I take the 3x times the x, and I get plus 3x. And then I'm going to work over here. I've got x times plus 2. So that's going to give me plus 2x. And then the last one here is the plus 3 multiplied by plus 2, and that will give me plus 6, positive 6. Okay, so now to simplify this, these two are like terms. They are the same exponent with the same variable and the same exponent. So we can simplify those together. So we can add those together, and I know I'm going to get 5x. X squared, there's no other like terms to it, so I just leave it as x squared. And there's no other like terms to 6, so I just leave it as 6. Okay, so when we're multiplying polynomials, so when we have, so a polynomial is when we're starting to get bigger than just 2 terms in a bracket. So let's say we have 3 terms in a bracket. It can get a bit more complicated. So when multiplying polynomials, each term in the first bracket is multiplied with all the terms in the second bracket. So for example, my first bracket is x minus 5. My second bracket is x squared plus 2x minus 5. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply each term in this first bracket by every term in this bracket. So the first one I'm going to work with is the x. I'm going to multiply it to the x squared first. Remember, when we're multiplying two variables with exponents, we are to add the exponent. Remember, there's an imaginary 1. So we add the 1 and the 2, and we're going to get x to the power of 3. Okay, so when I'm done that, I'm now going to take this x and I'm going to multiply it to the second term in the second bracket. So I have x times positive 2x. That's going to give me positive 2x squared. Remember, the x times the x, you add those two exponents together, and that's why we're getting the x squared. And the imaginary 1 in front of this x times 2 is why we have it as 2x squared. Okay, when that's done, we're going to take this term, the first term, and we're going to multiply it by the third term in the second bracket. So the x times negative 5. So well, we take an x and we're timesing it by negative 5. There's an imaginary 1 in front of that x. So 1 times negative 5, we're going to put it as negative 5x. Okay, so that takes care of that first term in that first bracket. Now we're going to move on to the second term in the first bracket, so the negative 5x. So the first thing I want to do is multiply them together. Since this is an x squared and this is a 5, all we have to do is put them together, including the minus sign. Okay, and then after that, we're going to take the negative 5 and multiply it by the positive 2x. So the negative 5 times 2 gives me 10, and then we just put the x on the end. So negative 5 times 2 gives me negative 10, and then we just put the x on the end. And then the last thing is we take that negative 5, that second term, and we go to the last term in the second bracket. So I've got negative 5 times negative 5. Put that into your calculator, and negative times a negative makes a positive, so I get plus 25. So now we need to simplify this. So to simplify, we're going to collect the like terms. So my x to the power of 3 is the only one I have here. So let's look at our x to the power of 2. So I have 2x to the power of 2, and I have minus 5x to the power of 2. So we're going to put those two sitting next to each other. And the same as my negative 5x and my negative 10x, we're going to put those two next to each other. And now we can simplify it. So if I have 2x squared minus 5x squared, this is going to give me x to the power of 3 minus 3x squared. And then when I have negative 5 minus 10, that gives me negative 15x plus 25. And that's your final answer. Okay, so another way to do that previous example, so it's the exact same example, but we're going to use the chart. use this table. So first thing we're going to fill in is this box here. So I have x times x squared. Remember, we add those exponents together, imaginary 1, so I get x to the power of 3. Then I'm going to fill in this one here. I've got x times 2x. There's no coefficient, it's an imaginary 1, so we're going to leave it with the 2. And then x times x, we add the two exponents, I get 2x squared. And then this part, we go x times negative 5. And since they're not the same things, we just put them together. So it sits as negative 5x. Okay, and then down here, I have negative 5 times x squared. We just put them together. I get negative 5x squared. Now I've got negative 5. So for this part here, we got negative 5 times positive 2x. So we're going to take the negative 5, we multiply it by 2. I get negative 10. We have to make sure we put the x at the end. Okay, and then the last one down here, we take negative 5 times negative 5. I get plus 25. So now we got to collect our like terms. So our like terms are diagonal from each other. So these two are like terms. These two are like terms. We can add them together. So negative 5x squared plus 2x squared is going to give me negative 3x squared. And then if I have negative 10x plus negative 5x, that's going to give me negative 15x plus 25. Okay, so we're going to work on some more examples. I am going to do it both the FOIL way and the table way, and you can pick which one you like to do more. So for the FOIL way, the first one we're going to do is the first terms in each bracket. So those two I'm going to multiply together. I'm going to get x squared. Then I'm going to multiply the outside terms. So the x to the 4. That's going to give me plus 4x. Then we do the inside terms. So the 2 times the x, that is plus 2x. And then lastly, we do the last terms in each bracket. So the 2 to the 4, that gives me 2 times 4 is plus 8. So now we're going to collect the like terms. So this and this are my only two like terms here because they have the same variable with the same exponent. So if I have 4x and I'm adding 2 more x's, I'm going to get 6x plus 8 as my final answer. So now the table method, I'm going to start off with this one. So I've got x times x. We add the exponents. I've got x squared. Then I'm going to work on this one. So I've got x times 2, so plus positive 2. So that's going to give me plus 2x. Then down here, I've got positive 4 times x. So that's going to be plus 4x. And then lastly is this one here, where I've got positive 4 times positive 2. So positive times a positive gives me positive 8. So collect the like terms, add them together. So my like terms are here, the 4x plus the 2x. So my final answer is x squared. 4x plus 2x is plus 6x, then plus 8. Okay, example 2. So the FOIL method again, we go first. So x times x, I've got x squared. Then I'm going to go the outside, so FOIL, so the O is outside, so out to out. So x times -1, that's going to give me -1x. You can put the 1 or you don't have to put the 1. It's imaginary when it is a coefficient. Okay, and so then the next one's the inner, so the inside. So it's -4 times x is going to be -4x. And then lastly, it's going to be the last terms in each bracket. So the -4 times -1. Remember, a negative times a negative makes a positive. So I get +4. Okay, we got to collect our like terms. So x, leave it as x squared. So if I have -1x and I'm subtracting another 4 x's, that's going to give me -5x plus 4. Okay, now the table, I've got x times x. We know that it's x squared. And now for this one here, I've got x times -4. So we put them together. I've got -4x. Down here, I've got -1 times x. We put them together. I've got -1x. Or remember, you can just put -x and keep the 1 as imaginary. Then lastly, down here, I've got a -1 times a -4, and negative times a negative makes a positive, so this is going to be +4. Diagonal, these are like terms, so we add them together. So if I have -1 and then I have another -4, that gives me -5x plus 4. So the exact same, but two different methods on how to do it. Another example, we're getting a little bit harder. So we're going to do the inside first. So the 2x times 2x. So we multiply the 2's together. We get 4. And then the x times the x in it is going to give us x squared. So here we get 4x squared when we times 2x times 2x. Then I'm going to do the outside of each bracket, so the 2x times 1 is just going to give me 2x. Then we're going to do the inside. So I have -4 times 2 is going to be -8, and then we got to make sure we put the x in. And then the last terms in each bracket, so -4 times 1 is going to be -4. My like terms here. So we have 4x squared in the beginning. So if I have 2 x's and I'm subtracting 8 x's from it, that's going to give me -6x. And then leave the -4 at the end. Okay, so now the table, working here, I've got 2x times 2x. So the 2 times 2 gives me 4, and the x times x gives me x squared because we add the exponents. So then here, I've got 2x times -4. So 2 times -4 is -8, and we put the x at the end of it. Here, I've got +1 times 2x. So 1 times 2 is just 2. Positive, and then we just put the x at the end. Then the last one here, if I have a negative, or a positive times a negative, it makes a negative. So 1 times 4 is 4. Add the like terms that are diagonal. So 2x minus 8x gives me -6x minus 4. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead to example 6. So here where it says the x plus 5 and there's a square at the end, that just means that there's 2 of them. So you can always rewrite these. So always leave the 2 at the front of the very first bracket. So I've got x plus 5, and then you can rewrite x plus 5. Okay, so then we're going to leave the 2 always just at the front, and then at the end we'll bring the 2 in. So let's do x times x first. So we're going to leave the 2 here, and I'm going to put a square bracket in, so I leave it at the beginning. So x times x, I've got x squared. Then I've got x times 5, I've got plus 5x. Then we've got the inside, so 5 times x, we've got another 5x. And then lastly, we've got 5 times 5, so I've got plus 25. Okay, let's simplify the inside. So my 5x and my 5x, we're going to add those two together. So if I have 5x's and then another 5x's, that's going to give me 10x's. Okay, let's multiply that 2 in. So that 2 needs to go to everything. So it needs to go here, it needs to go here, and it needs to go there. Okay, so that's going to be 2 times x squared is just 2x squared. And then 2 times 10x will be 2 times 10 is 20x. And then 2 times 25 is 50. Okay, and the same thing with the table. We're just leaving the 2 out. So we're going to put the 2 here for now. And then I put the x plus 5 in here. So x times x gives me x squared. Then I've got x times positive 5, that gives me positive 5x. And I've got positive 5 times x, so that gives me also positive 5x. And then lastly, I've got positive 5 times positive 5, so maybe positive 25. Diagonal, add those two together. We're going to leave the 2 at the beginning. So I've got x squared plus 5x is 10x plus 25. Then we multiply that 2 in to everything. So that's 2x squared plus 20x plus 50.